Okie dokie. Getting ready to load this bad boy on the rail car. A couple things I did though. I was looking at this, and the more I looked at it, I was like, wow, there is something really, really obvious missing on this transformer. So I added it. It's not perfect, but it's there. That is on the cover of the transformer. You can see I now have 4 lifting lugs, because that cover, it ain't coming off by itself. You got to lift it off somehow. First of all, you would unbolt it because it does have a bolted cover. And then you come in there with a crane and little hooks, and you'd hook into the lifting lugs and you lift the cover off. They're roughly shaped the way they kind of would look. They're probably way too out of scale for reality, but I left them white just so people could see them. And then I also put 2, one's a lot of cattywampus, but anyway, I think when they're painted they might look better, but they are on the end load tap changer, because that thing ain't getting up there by itself. It's got to be lifted up, welded in. It's a separate item that is in the factory and brought up there and welded onto the end of the tank. So it's got to be picked up somehow. So that was pretty obvious when I started looking at this, that, hey, those are missing. So they're on there now. Now I'll go ahead and I'll paint them up the same blue color very carefully. Hopefully blend them into the cover okay. On the bottom of the unit, what I decided to try is I took the angles that I had and I cut them. And I super glued just a little dab around the unit, so they have angles on the base. You can see that where they're gonna, probably hard to see when the unit's setting down, but let's see. I don't know if I can lighten this or not. Let me oh, okay, hold on. I'm gonna try to lighten this crazily and see what happens. Yeah, that's gonna go nuts. All right, but there they are. They're there. And I don't know if I can get closer. Have this thing go into super close-up mode. And I think they're about right, so they will look like it would set on the deck of the car, because they actually are welded to the car. They're not on the well, they are on the transformer. They used to kind of keep it from moving. But I put them on all 4 sides, to where I could, based on what they gave me. There they are at the end. And then on the back side, this has got that weird arrangement that, man, I swear it's got to be prototypical, because why else would you put that like that there? I don't know, but I just tried to fit them around it, kind of like Cletus and Bubba would do, to fit them on the car. You're like, yeah, we'll weld them on the car. So they did that. And now, a little bit of touch-up on things, and it should be ready. Let me just pause it, get the rail car, and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, there it is sitting on the car, and I put on 2 H channels as stuff that's left over on the car from the last time. And if I try to turn the car this way, again, I don't know how well that's going to show up underneath there. Try to get the light in there so you can see it. Oh, so there they are, glued in. Again, when you're at layout level, you're probably not really going to notice it all that much, but they're there. And they're on the transformer itself, so I guess if I don't know if I ever would, not once you get it tied down with the rods, want to remove the unit from the car, you could. And you wouldn't have things stuck on the car that are exactly this dimension. So we'll see how it goes. Now, one thing I think I'm going to do is probably favor the load a little bit this way. Figure out where the center of gravity is, because in this transformer, what's going to be in there is there's a load tap changer on it, and there's a preventive auto, and maybe even a series. It depends on the time frame up at this end. So that's going to put the weight more toward the load tap changer end. So what I'm going to do is kind of set it on the car. It's going to look a little bit uneven, but the reason it's like that is because you want to put the center of gravity over the center of their car. Let me go back. So the center of gravity, which is normally marked oftentimes on the unit itself, so the guys that are rigging it and craning it and lifting it, they know where to set it. So that I put it right about where that angle is, if you can see my fat finger, right next to the lower filter press valve, that's kind of in the center of the deck. So that's kind of how it's going to be, and it's just a slight amount this way, which makes sense. That's, that's the way it would sit with the center of gravity where it wants to be. And that's why I decided just to leave these two on there from last time. The guys got lazy, just didn't feel like burning them off. So, whatever. All right, so get it touched up. I do have, these probably won't show up. I'm going to, here in the back, right here. Let's see if I can bring this forward. That is some, what is that? It might be 015, or it might even be 012, I'm not sure. Rod that is to tie the unit down. And what I'm probably going to do is, it was suggested, and I think it might be right. You see these two little nubs here in the center of the cover? Let me see if I can find something smaller to point with. Pardon me when I drone and point and try to hold it. This one here and this one here. I believe that's where the wires or the rods are going to go down to the car. So I did open up the holes here. So I can't, and I opened up the holes, I had to drill holes on these to fit the wires. So I'm just going to cut the wire, kind of bring it up through. It probably would be, nutted up there, threaded and nutted, and then down through here and through the deck, and then either welded to the deck or nutted on the bottom side. And I may, if I get crazy, because I did go ahead and drill it. Oftentimes you'll see inside these jacking lugs here, there's a hole, and I drilled it out, and I could put a rod down to the deck of the car. That would kind of help hold it. Right here, there's oftentimes on the four corners, you will see on transformers, there's there's probably a nut on the deck welded on with a threaded rod up through here and then bolted inside there. It just kind of helps a little bit. We'll see. I don't know. I mean, that's probably something that no one's ever going to really notice, and it probably really won't matter either. But that is how it looks right now. Well, actually, let me just go back a wee bit since I got the light out and I bumped the transformer. It's sitting like that. What I'm going to have is this bushing box is going to sit on this side. Like that. That's not perfect, but it'll be on there. Like that. And then we're going to put, I just made another crate from the old Rusty Stumps, which is now somebody else. I'll have to put who it is. That crate's probably going to sit there with some accoutrements in it. And I have a wee little box. This is the impact recorder. That's going to be on the car. A three-way impact recorder sitting right there. And then, what else do I have? That's probably going to do it for this car. Again, the rod's got to go on. Oh, I'm sorry. I do have, for the ends of the car, that's a wee little, that's probably hard to see. Maybe I can zoom in, you'll see it. That's a do not hump sign. So I have two of those made up on wood. So there's going to be one that sits at this end of the car. Doop. That's not perfect, but my big fat fingers are in the way. So one's going to be this end of the car, like that. And one at the other end. It'll have the same thing. So that's the signage that's on the car. And I think then it'll be ready to rock and roll in the layout. So that's about what it's going to look like. So get the rods on it. Got the bushing crate with the Westinghouse sign. I got the angles around it. I got the lifting lugs on the top that need to be touched up. I got the impact recorder. I got a box here on the upper deck with goodies. I got the do not hump signs for both ends. And it's ready to rock and roll. So, okay. Getting really, really close here. Maybe next time we'll show it when it's all done and ready to go on the layout. All right, folks, we're back at the bench, and the car now has a load, and the load is secured. I decided to go ahead and use the old transformer from Class 1 Model Works that I'd painted up and and detailed up. Like I said, this now shows the top cover and LTC lifting lugs. If I can get in there close enough, if I can zoom in on it. But they've been added and painted the same color as the main tank. It's on the car. It does have the angles at the bottom. I added the tie rods to it through the what looked to be the tie downs for it. I don't know, but it looks okay. Now this is going to be over in the Westinghouse factory. It's not a Westinghouse transformer. It's a GE transformer. But whatever. No one's really going to know. Who cares? You know what I mean? Just a hobby. But what I also did, in addition to the 4 tie rods, which was not easy to get those on, maybe hard to see, but I did add a rod down through the jacking boss. If you see the rod there going down to the car, that's the same piece of wire as the tie-down rods. They are often located on actual transformers down through the jack pads with a bolt on the top and then welded to the car deck to keep things from moving. So I put them on each corner, all 4 of the jack pads have those on there. Again, I don't know how well this is going to focus. I can try to... that's probably the best I'm going to get. But they're there. Now, they probably need to be touched up. Everything was painted. I sprayed it before before we went away. More on that later. And it sat for about a week. But, as you can see, some of the paint has kind of peeled off when I was handling it and cutting it and bending it and, gluing it in. So I got to go back and touch that up, which I probably will do. But I just want to get a kind of an in progress here of the unit. It is on the car. Now, what I did do, I don't know why, but I put the unit on the car with some canopy glue across the bottom. Again, I'm not sure why. I was thinking, maybe I could remove it, which I guess I could. But the tie rods and the rods in the very bottom through the jack pads, they're all super glued. So might be fun trying to remove this puppy. But that's the way it is. So that is it on the car. Now I want to touch it up, let it sit, and then get the bushing box, get the other crate, get the do not hump signs and the impact recorder on it, and then it is ready for the layout. Let's get a look at this end. So won't be long, almost done. Then we'll get it finished up and we'll get it put over in the factory. Whew, okay. I'm going to call this puppy done because, to be honest, I'm tired of working on it. So here it is on the car. It's tied down. And we'll go through and talk a little bit about what we did, although a lot of this has already been covered. And I will try to zoom in a little bit here and try to keep things nice and sturdy. So on this end, I added a crate from the old Rusty Stumps. Now they're somebody else, but I had in my box of rocks, I added that. And then right in front of it is the impact recorder, that tiny little box. I do have the do not hump sign installed there on the end, glued on. And then on the transformer itself, it's got the angles tying it down. It has the tie rod through the jack boss there. The nameplate there, painted silverish or dull aluminum. Kind of looks terrible, but you, at least, real close up it does. But you look at it at layout level, you can't really tell. I thought about trying to come in there and touching up around it with some of the gray blue, but I was like, nah, forget it. So it's got the other angles around here. Angles at this end. Of course, the other tie rod going down through the jack boss. And then the bushing crate secured in. I did add some additional dunnage around it just to kind of keep it in. There on the angle piece there. Now, what I did not do, because to be honest, I can't freaking figure out how to do it. I didn't add the strap that looks like it runs from here down over the car that holds it down. Now, I actually know how I could do it. It would be with something similar to this here. This is, I think, a brass piece from a railing, but it's about a ½ foot long, so it's too wide. It doesn't look right, so I'm not going to use that. So what I probably could do though is buy, like a Walthers or a who makes it? Model Memories, I think, makes some railing, and cut the piece out. That's a lot closer. But to be honest, I don't feel like stopping, waiting, ordering something, paying shipping, bringing it in, painting it, putting it on. I was like, oh, forget it. So it's there by itself. That's it. And then this end, of course, also has the do not hump sign there on the end. All right. Now, what I also did, I drone back around here. So you can see the tie rods are in. They're down through the car. Up on top, now you can see the lifting lugs for the top of the unit. The 4 for the cover. And then the 2 I did over here for the LTC. Will that focus there? I can't get the focus. Sorry. But they are there. They're cut from styrene. Although I looked in my Transformer box of stuff, and I do have lifting lugs that look more like what the actual cover lugs. I know what they should look like, and these are fairly close, but they're not perfect. Now, what I did do, and I don't know if this was going to show up. If this will switch over, I can always try to get a photograph. Why don't you? It won't do it. Let me see if I can get this to. Nope. Rats. On the very top there, where that tie rod comes up, there is a nut bolt washer on the top side. I'll try to get a photograph and then throw it up to show it. What that is I very carefully took a nut bolt washer that I found, so I can put this here, in my box of rocks, and I cut off just the washer and the bolt to make it look like the tie rod comes up through, it's threaded through the hole, then you put a washer and you put a nut on it. And you might spot weld it, I'm not totally sure. But that's what's there. That was not easy. That was not fun at all. But it's there. How I cut them off, I tried a couple different methods. The X-Acto number 11 doesn't work. It leaves too much crap on the underside of the washer. Tried some sprue cutters. Nope, didn't work. So I took this knife that I got at UMM. It's nice. This is I really recommend you get something like this if you're doing a lot of work, or you might need it. Let me try to get this open if I can with one hand. And then this is nice and flat, a thin razor. So I was able to basically keep the NVWs on that, turn it over, come in with this on the fine side, and very carefully, and it took some time, cut down through, get the nut bolt, actually the washers and the nuts off on the back side, on the bottom side of this, set it down, very carefully get those off and onto a piece of white plastic so I could see them. Of course, I did lose several, some flung away into the ether, and I don't know where the heck they are, but they're tiny little buggers. And then I picked them up with the head of a number 11 X-Acto, and I put them there on top of the unit. I don't know if this is going to show up or not. I don't know how close I can get, but they're there on both sides. So, okay, looks pretty cool. They were painted ahead of time with the same color that I painted the tie rods with. And then I brushed on a real, I had to touch up the hold down bosses there because I got a little bit of super glue on it, no matter how I tried. And then I had to touch up the nuts and washers with a wee little bit of diluted rust color paint from from Vallejo. I also did it on the car. You can kind of see where that is, where the tie rod went through. Now those tie rods are not perfect. They should have again, there should be a flat metal piece against the lip of the car, and it'd be threaded, and then be a bolt and a washer on the inside. But you know what? Nah, whatever. I don't care. So that is it. So that is the car now pretty much ready to go on the layout. All down, all secure. Got the do not hump signs, the Westinghouse sign, the angles, the additional of the pieces at the end of the car itself, the box at one end for accessories, the impact recorder, and the bushing box with some additional dunnage. Oh, there you go. So that is it. So that's how I'm going to load this car. I'm going to say, I don't know that Westinghouse and Sharon actually did repairs. Maybe. They certainly could have. Again, this is a GE unit coming out of a Westinghouse factory. Not that anyone's really going to notice, but it's core form, not shell form. So I know. So I'm going to say, you know what? They brought this in for a good customer. They did a repair, and they have it on the car, and now it's going back to the customer. Now there you go. Whatever. Would they like to bring a repair into the factory? Most likely not. That's why I know I work for GE, and GE Pittsfield, the large transformer operation up there, had a whole bunch of apparatus service centers. And that's where I started, in the Philadelphia Service Center, and we did repair large transformers very often for Pittsfield. So I'm sure Westinghouse had similar locations where they had, repair centers that will take the units in. Because a repair is a lot different, a lot messier, dirtier than a brand new unit. So very often, the new manufacturers really frown upon taking a repair unit into their assembly process. It just goes backwards, and it can just kind of mess things up. But in this case, they did it. Good customer. So there it is. So that's the car. It's ready to rock and roll. It's ready to go on the layout. And I do appreciate everyone watching this and the one previous where I built that cute little bushing box. A lot of work just to get this thing loaded. But hey, that's what it takes. So hopefully it looks okay. Hopefully the damn thing runs okay. It should. It's run okay so far. But we shall see. Let's get over to the layout. And it's ready to be pulled out of the factory.